A springtime deluge, more water than berries. Well, folks, you know what they say about the best laid plans? They often end up submerged under a foot of water, especially when Mother Nature decides to throw a curveball. That's right, this past spring and early summer decided to give my poor berry farm a good old-fashioned soaking. We're talking Noah's Ark levels of rain here, enough to make a duck think twice about leaving the house. It was relentless day after day. Who needs a swimming pool when your basement's got a foot of water in it, right? It's like having an indoor lake. I mean, sure, it's not exactly ideal for storing your prize-winning jams and jellies, but hey, look on the bright side. Free indoor water feature. It's all about perspective, people. Sometimes you just have to laugh to keep from crying. Of course, the humour wears off a bit when you realise the extent of the, shall we say, renovations Mother Nature has decided to bestow upon you. Trees down, branches scattered about like a giant game of pick-up sticks, and enough mud to make a hippopotamus feel right at home. It's a real mess. It's enough to make a chap reach for the nearest bottle of, well, let's just say something strong and preferably berry-flavoured. A little liquid courage never hurt anyone. Still, as they say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Or in this case, when life gives you a flood, make the best of it. Or in my case, when life gives you a flooded berry farm, well, you grab a shovel and get to work. It's all about rolling up your sleeves and facing the challenge head on, while keeping a positive mental attitude. When nature throws a wrench in your plans, you have to get creative. The first order of business? Tackling the indoor swimming pool, also known as my basement, which had turned into a mini lake overnight. Now, I'm not one to shy away from a challenge, so naturally my first thought was, right, where's that inflatable raft I bought last summer? It was time to put it to good use. A bit of paddling about later, and it was time to face the music, or rather the sound of a very unhappy sump pump groaning under the pressure. Turns out even the most dedicated of pumps can only handle so much watery chaos before giving up. Time to call in the reinforcements. I woke up my family, who had been sound asleep for some much-needed backup. But the basement was just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. The storm had left its mark all over the property. Remember those fallen trees I mentioned? They were everywhere, creating a chaotic scene. Yeah, well, turns out one of them had taken a rather unhealthy interest in my fence, causing quite a bit of damage. Not exactly the kind of treehouse I had in mind. It was more like a tree crash. Still, on the bright side, at least I wouldn't have to worry about firewood for the winter. The fallen trees would keep us warm. Every storm can bring with it a rainbow. Life in the countryside is full of surprises, and you just have to roll with the punches. Sheetrock surgery and earth-moving damage control on the berry farm. With the indoor pool situation somewhat under control, it was time to turn my attention to the great outdoors. And by outdoors, I mean the soggy, muddy, tree-strewn mess that used to be my backyard. It looked like a scene straight out of a disaster movie. First things first, sheetrock removal. The walls had taken quite a beating from the flood. Now, I'm not going to lie, there's a certain satisfaction that comes with taking a sledgehammer to a soggy wall. It's therapeutic, really. Each swing felt like a small victory against the chaos. Plus, it's a good workout. Who knew home repair could double as exercise? Who needs the gym when you've got a flood-damaged basement, right? It's like a full-body workout with a purpose. But all joking aside, it had to be done. The moisture and mould were relentless. Moisture and mould are not a recipe for a happy home or a productive berry farm, for that matter. Next up, earth moving. Time to tackle the outdoor mess. Well, not exactly earth moving on a grand scale, more like a strategic reshaping of the land, more like persuading the terrain to slope away from the house. It was all about redirecting the water flow. A bit of digging here, a bit of filling there, and a lot of patience. And with any luck, the next downpour wouldn't turn my basement into a water park. Fingers crossed. It's amazing what you can accomplish with a good shovel, a wheelbarrow, and a healthy dose of determination. Sometimes it's the simple tools that make the biggest difference. It didn't hurt that my father-in-law brought his skid steer, but the ground was almost too soggy to really landscape like I'd wanted to. The great green invasion and termite troubles. Now, if you thought a little thing like a flood was going to stop my berry bushes from, well, being berry bushes, you'd be sadly mistaken. Those tenacious weeds, though, holy cow, those little buggers were determined to thrive, even if it meant taking over the entire garden in the process. Weeds, it seems, are completely unfazed by natural disasters. I swear, I turned my back for 5 minutes and the place looked like something out of Jurassic Park. Giant ferns, towering dandelions, rogue vines attempting to scale the apple tree. It was a botanical free-for-all out there. But the real kicker? Termites. Yes, you read that right. Termites. Apparently, they'd decided my barn looked like a particularly appealing all-you-can-eat buffet. They have been eating my barn for years, but just the thought of them enjoying themselves after the pain of the flooding was enough. The nerve of some insects. Clearly, it was time to unleash my inner pest control warrior, so I made an all-natural pesticide from lemons, vinegar and borax. I was a busy guy and kept working for the next few weeks cleaning up the mess. Anyway, like I always say, berries are sweet, but life is sweeter. We will see you on the next edition of Sweet Berry Farm.